What's good, everybody? It is Sully, and thank you for tuning back in to another episode of Sully's Mistake Factory. What are we talking about this week, guys? Well, this week we are going to be doing the wiring for the battery. If you remember the previous episodes, guys, we went ahead. Last week we were doing the solar panels. We got that all run. That's to a circuit breaker right now, and that circuit breaker is turned off, so we don't have any live wires. That's coming down into this MPPT charge controller right here. So that is already all wired up. We showed you that in a previous episode as well. And then you can also see from the previous episode, we have our battery tray installed right here. And you can see we actually have 4 Group 31 AGM batteries. So we first talked about this, guys. We were going to do 4 Group 31 deep cycles. That's 100 amp hours a piece for 400 amp hours. If you remember, that gives us about 200 of usable amp hours, give or take. Now with these AGM deep cycles, they're 110 amp hours. So that gives us 440, which is 220 usable amp hours. And we can actually go down a little bit lower below that 50% line a couple of times without really hurting these batteries too much. So it was a nice little upgrade. So we've got that going. And then as you guys can see here, talking about having breakers turned off and stuff, I've obviously got my battery switch right here with the lug right there ready to get the 4-aught wire. You can see that's turned off and that's turned off. You can see our main house feed right here is a 200 amp breaker. That's turned off. And we're missing our T-class fuse. So even as we wire this all up, guys, there isn't a chance for something to come online unintentionally. Just trying to think ahead as we do these things to prevent problems. And speaking of some of the lugs, you guys are going to notice I actually have a 90-degree one here so that when it comes off of the shunt with the negative, it'll be nice, easy, and over. And speaking of that, we're going to go from here, and then that's going to go to there, and then it's got to go to there, and then it's got to go to there. And then our positive will obviously come out of here, go down, go to that stud, then over to that stud, then to that stud, and then over to here. And that will complete the circuit, making this all one big battery bank. So, without further ado, guys, let's get after making some new battery cables. Now, I could have just bought some off the shelf, but I like making everything to length and making it labeled. And we're also going to be working with the 4-aught battery cable. That's that much bigger cable. It can handle a lot more ampacity with it for things like the inverter. So let's go ahead and get after it, guys. Easy peasy, just like that, we have our first cable done. Now again, this is the 4-aught cable here. You can see we've got that 90-degree connection right there. That's coming over here to our negative, so this is the end of the line, obviously, for that. And you can see we have the heat shrink on here as well. Now, this heat shrink is good because it helps just kind of secure everything and make it all a nice clean connection, but it is also the adhesive lined on the inside, so it's going to keep condensation and moisture out, and it's also just going to kind of help everything out just by having a little bit of extra adhesion there going on. So that one is done. So now I just need to make the cable from here to there, there to there, there to there. So 3 more negative cables, and then we can get ripping on the positive side. So without further ado, let's get back after it, guys. So we are halfway there on our battery cables, guys. I have all 4 of our negative battery bank all tied together here. I showed you that when we started. Obviously, we got that one right there, and then we went over to our negative here, that went to our negative here, that went to our negative here. This is battery 1, battery 2, battery 3, battery 4, and you'll notice I actually have them labeled as well. This is cable number 3 going to battery 3. This end is 3 here, going to number 4 there. So it's just very simple, just using a little label maker right here, guys, and we wrap that around. So now, because all those cables are different lengths. I could have gone, equal lengths on all of them and tried to do some things with it and get a little creative, but just figured I'm here, might as well just do it this way. And now everything's labeled and it's very easy. So if I have to pull a cable off, I know exactly where it goes. So now I need to repeat this process and start with the positive and start daisy chaining that around. And then we can go ahead and bring that over to our battery switch right here and get that all terminated, and we can keep trucking along. So more wire cutting, more wire crimping, more heat shrinking, and more connections. Let's get after it. So the first positive battery cable is done, and I'm going to stop the time lapse right here for a second, guys. And I forgot to tell you something as we're going through all this, and I'm going to kind of sound like your high school sex ed teacher or junior high, because again, I don't know where you went to school, but protection, it's important. Make sure you keep it covered. Of course, I'm talking about positive battery terminal protection. We've got it going on right there. We've got it back here, but of course, we can't quite see it, and we still have to make the cable goes from there to there to there over to here. But guys, keep it covered. Make sure it is protected. I can't stress that enough. You drop a wrench, anything like that, that is your last line of defense before it sparks out and creates a much bigger problem. Protection, it's the key. So, now that little PSA is out of the way, let's get back to building some battery cables here and showing you guys everything, and we'll come back here in a second. We should have, hopefully, power over to the switch. So, let's keep crimping. And that is a wrap on, I think it was 15 4-aught wire crimps. Would have been really nice to have the cordless Milwaukee. However, that is being used on another job, so we just had to go old school with the hydraulic press right there and make all of these crimps. So guys, like I mentioned, we've got these all run and we have our positive protection throughout. I do have this one removed. I've got to put it back on because I forgot to connect the 24-hour power. That's this breaker right here, clearly labeled 24-hour power, says leave on. Now, what does 24-hour power mean, guys? That is for items that we want always on, always to have power, even if the battery switches are turned off. In this particular case, that's going to be all of my bilge pumps. So we want to make sure those always have good power no matter what. So instead of taking the panel that's right there, I can kind of see it, the covers off of it, and bringing all those wires over to here and installing it right here, which would have looked nice and been really clean, it's a lot more wires to run. So in this case, what I did, guys, is I just took some 4-gauge and ran it up and around and through and over, and it is going to be ready to land right there. So it's just some of those things, taking time in consideration, what's going to be easier. I can still have my 24-hour power over there, still have great access to it. It's all fused, it's all good to go, and it's properly fed over here, and it's clearly labeled so that anybody gets on board the boat, they can see that, hey, that's the house, 24-hour power, make sure we leave it on. And then over here, you can see I do have the clearly labeled 200 amp house breaker right here for the house feed. You can see that's run over there. You see it is not yet connected, guys. I have my negative, I have my house, and my 24-hour power. You can see I've actually got them taped up just in case somebody decides to turn something on. And I'm going to go ahead and get those connected into those bus bars right there. I'm going to pull out that extra RBS because we're not going to be using that anymore. And now I'm going to free up some storage space over there. So that's actually going to be kind of nice. So we've got this all wrapped up, guys. All these crimps, everything's done, tightened down, checked everything out, made sure everything is all good. So hopefully you learned a little something in this week's episode. We will be back again, hopefully next week, travel schedules permitting and all that fun stuff. We will be back next week, and we are going to be bringing all of this stuff online, guys. We're going to put on the charger inverter. We're going to bring on the solar. Well, we really can't do much with that yet because obviously we're still in the barn. We're going to bring on our shunt, get all of that stuff networked into the gateway that is actually up there, and we'll get it all online, and then we're going to show you all of the data that we can get and the multiple avenues that we can get it from. Meaning we can be on board. We're going to have a nice touchscreen display that we can look at locally. We also are going to have the app on our phone, and I believe if I connect this into my Starlink, I should be able to log in anywhere in the world as long as the boat is online and check the status of all of this stuff and see what is going on. So that should be kind of cool. So that's what we're going to be doing next week or 2 weeks from now on Sully's Mistake Factory. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you haven't done it yet, guys, you hung around this long, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below at Sully's Mistake Factory, and we will see you guys again real soon. Peace.